Hey guys, how's it going? Just wanted to do a quick update on the suspension. I'm also going to mention about a windscreen, a 12 volt socket, some of the mistakes that some people have picked up, which I also picked up obviously, and have fixed. Nothing major. So basically what I've done is I've headed down this way to hit the 100 k's an hour to test out the windscreen. I've put my phone on the thing. I've got a new 12 volt socket that now has a switch to turn it on and off, because I like to have that connected to the battery. I'll discuss all that. I'm going to go and get changed before I do that, because my boots are really squeaky and it'll drive you nuts as I'm walking around. It'll drive me bloody nuts. But I've just gotten off the bike and I'm just really happy now with the way that the front suspension is working in with the rear suspension. I know when I did the rear suspension I didn't have any expectations, so when I hopped on the bike I didn't think I was going to feel much, and I felt stuff and I was like, yeah, this is bloody fantastic. It's a bit like when you go to watch, you go to the cinemas or you go to watch a movie and everybody's been raving about this movie and you're all hyped up, and then you watch it and then you get overhyped for something, so you expect a whole lot more. And I think that's what happened with the front. When I did the front, everybody says you've got to go the front and you just feel so much different. I was very hyped up to just feel this magnificent, bloody magical change. And I felt the change, but it wasn't what I was expecting. So I most probably sounded a bit, not all that bloody wrapped up with the front suspension. Anyway, so I took it down here, did the 100 k's an hour to get to see what I've done to that windscreen, and then I took off onto one of the dirt tracks, which is on the other side of town, and that's more of a high speed track system as opposed to over at the proving grounds, where it's more just going around and bloody ups and lumps and bumps. And I've got to say, I can really see the benefit now, especially when you're moving faster. I don't know what it is, because I'm new to this, so I don't have any comparisons to work with. But I know, what I noticed today was the wheels are just sticking to the ground. It doesn't matter whether you hit rocks, lumps and bumps. Or even I had the front wheel slip out a couple of times, because it's gotten quite, with the wet weather and then it's all drying out, so it's quite dusty, not sand but dusty stuff. So I've had the wheels slip out, but they haven't slipped out as far as what they normally would. It's like a slip grab. This basically sounds stupid. The other thing I noticed was the back wheel. Some of the old training buddy videos that I started to do, and I never went any further with them, was I'd mentioned about getting into the corners and being more down low gear, and flicking that back wheel out a lot more to kind of get you around the corners. That seemed to just naturally happen now. I don't know why, but I just put the bloody revs on, and it just does it. It feels really good when it does it, as you guys know. When you get it right, it doesn't feel good when you're bloody not expecting it and you're not used to it. But so look, I just wanted to say that I'm happy with the way that the front and the rear's being done. Some people have mentioned about not pumping the shocks first before putting the caps on. I'm going to go get changed and then I'll mention that. There's some stuff ups that I did with these wires, which I'll mention. I'd already fixed them up. I think that was about it. Oh, and the weight. Someone else mentioned about the 8 kilogram on the rear, but I never mentioned the kilograms on that one. I don't think the kilograms so much is how they do that. I'm not too sure. I've got to go and check it out. I've grabbed the old box out of the bin that I threw out, and this doesn't really say anything about this is a 3 kilogram spring or whatever. They've got some funny numbers, so I'll try and check that out and then I'll come back to you. Alright guys, I'm going to go get changed. Alright guys, now I've been trying to figure out the size or weight for these front springs, how it all works or what these numbers kind of like mean, and I can't work it out. And I figure if I can't work something out, or if it's too far over my head, I don't need to really know about it. And like I said in the last video, you know, I spoke to Vince, who knows what he's doing. He worked out all my stuff and said, this is what you need. I'm happy with that. But, so this is the numbers for these springs, 19, 110, 48. 48 seems to be the number. I've had a look at, on Vince's site, and he doesn't have a lot of information. Basically, he says, give him a ring. I see procycle.us, they have a little bit more information. And I went to Technic's website, and they had some information for the DR650, but they had like packages, and it was putting the springs and revalves and dampers and all that kind of stuff. It was like, but I'll show you what I've kind of figured out. Okay, so looking at the box, this 48 is the number that we kind of like got to think about. I've just printed out, I've just taken this off the Technic website, and it just had, this is just inserts out of their website, and it's got forks. They are 43mm KYB conventional forks from the mid-90s on DR650s. The early ones had 41mm. Now what that means or whatever, I don't know. Then they go, we stock a pretty darn big array of spring rates, and there you go, there's my 48. And then they've got 50, 52, and it just goes on and on and on. So I was looking on the ProCycle thing. I don't know if this is going to pick it up. It should pick it up. Just on my phone. But there you can see the .47. They've got .52, 65, and the 70. And basically what they're saying is, the higher the number, the stiffer the suspension. So obviously, if you're a light weight person and you're not carrying much, you only need the smaller number, I suppose. The bigger you are, the more weight that you're carrying over the front. That means the stiffer the spring you need, or you might just want a stiffer spring because it's better for handling or whatever. I don't know. But there you go. That's the deal. My front springs are .48. Okay, so for the guys, a couple of guys had mentioned that I should have, when I put the new oil in, I should have pumped the shockers or the forks to get the air bubbles to come through. Now that would be right if I had have been, when I was putting the oil in, I was doing that by measuring the height of the oil, because you can do it that way. You can pour oil in and then you measure how far down the oil is, and that gives you the right amount of oil. So in doing that, you would have had to have pumped the shocks to get the air bubbles out so that the oil would come down to where it would normally sit. Because I measured it, so Vince Strand had given me the measurements to actually for the right amount of oil to put in there, I didn't have to do that. And obviously, if there was air bubbles, there would have been air bubbles in there. Even though I put the cap on in that fork, I mean, logically speaking, those air bubbles will go around and sort themselves out. They don't have to have that top off to expel whatever. There's the right amount of oil and the right amount of airspace in there. So I'm happy. I've actually I spoke to Ken, and he's done his before, and he said, yeah, no, that's you're fine with that. All right, there you go. Okay, so quite a few guys had picked up on YouTube and on Facebook that I'd put the this caliper cable. Sorry, it's a cable, not a hose. Oh, I don't know. No, it's a hose. I'd actually ran this around this side and up here, around there. I was sitting down over there and looking at the bike, and I went, hang on a minute, that looks a bit bloody weird. So yeah, so I fixed that up, and I actually, even on this side, I'd mucked this up a little bit. I'll go around the other side and I'll show you something there. Another little thing I'd stuffed up was having the cord running through here incorrectly, but also noticed that I'd actually had this bar was tucked underneath here, and it's been like that ever since I've had it. And I realised there's a little notch in there where it sits in there, and it's obviously popped out. So what I've done is I've put it back in there, and I've put a little just a zip tie just to make sure it doesn't pop back out again. So there you go. All right. So the next thing that that I just done is put a new 12 volt socket onto the bike. So basically this one, this is very similar to the other one, which I'm going to show you in a minute, but this now has a switch. As you can see, it switches on and then it switches off. What it does, that switch only turns off the USBs. There's two USBs there. It doesn't affect the socket. Now the reason for that is that the USB is always draining power from the battery if you've got it directly connected to the battery. If you've got it going through your accessories port, it doesn't matter. But because I like to have mine going through directly to the battery, I need to have that switch. I've learnt that the hard way in a very costly way, which I'll tell you about in a minute. So that's what I've done, is I've put that on. It was actually this mounting thing here was the same as my other one, but the other one didn't have a switch. Alright guys, so this is, remember this is the super lightweight DR650 battery. Saves a heap of weight, but I've killed it absolutely dead. It's just useless. It's like, I don't know, I can't remember how much it was, 130 bucks, gone, down the drain, patuk. So what happened? I'll tell you what happened. I'll give you a bit of a backstory. We sell these. We started off selling, like on the Bike A Bits website, we started selling these. It's a really simple, straight up, oh, if I can pull the bloody thing out, 12 volt socket. These unclip, and then you can just file this to fit whatever bar, or if you're going around a corner. It was really, really simple, really great, worked well. I've just replaced this off Harry the Boulevard and the Naze Intruder. We've been running them for years, never had a problem. We actually thought that maybe this was draining off Naze because her battery was going flat. If it wasn't being used for, you know, a month or whatever, the bike's battery would go bloody flat and we'd actually killed one. But we've since done tests where we've totally disconnected it, but it still does it. So it's an issue with the bike. Somewhere in the bike it's draining stuff. So I've used this on the Postie as well, except on the Postie, my Postie, I can't use it anymore because the stator's now giving out crazy bloody voltages and stuff. So, but yeah, so that works really, really well. But of course, everything uses bloody USB, so it's kind of like handy just to have the permanent USBs in it. So these started coming out, so we started stocking these, and these have been really good. But the problem with these is that we know that that side doesn't draw any power, but the USB, and I can remember back to people making comments saying it does draw something out of it, and I always thought, it's so minuscule, it's not going to bloody worry, you know, the battery. But when the bike bloody sits there for 2 months and you haven't bloody, you know, taken it for a decent ride, as I've found, it will kill your battery, and you lose, you know, you drain them down too far, they just end up dying. And I know that lithium battery, I drained it so there was absolutely nothing in it, so it's just killed it. So these are great for just going directly to your accessory port, but going directly to the battery, don't do it. So now we've got those new ones. Actually, I'll just go and grab them. There's two different ones. I'll just might as well just show you for the hell of it. Alright guys, so I got them. So the first one, that one there, so that's what's I've now connected up to max. And why I've done that is because I've got mine directly connected to the battery. So I need to have a switch. If you have it going into your accessories, you don't have to worry about paying the extra bloody money to have a switch on there, unless you want to. And now we've got onto these ones. These are chrome ones. They're expensive, but yeah, they're pretty flash looking, and they've got the switch on them as well. I'll give you a quick look what we've put them on the bikes. So same deal with these ones. I've got on both the Intruder and also on Harry, the Boulevard. So they've got a really nice mounting system, nice and bloody chrome. you've got your switch, so there you go, so that's straight on, and then turn it off. That only happens because while the bike's not on, is because I've got it directly to the battery. Same on Harry. I mean, I didn't have to do this, I've just bloody done it because I like to test things out, that, you know, stuff that we sell, make sure it's all, you know, works bloody good, or you know, it's going to bloody last for a while or whatever. But I think they're made in America, actually, those ones. That's where we buy them from anyway. So there you go, guys. I'm a slow learner, apparently. Basically, the rule is, if you've got a 12 volt socket that has USB and you're going to connect it to your battery directly, make sure it's got a switch to be able to turn the USB off. If you're going through your accessory, it doesn't matter. You can have one with a switch, you can have it without a switch. If you're having a 12 volt and it's going to go directly to the battery, but you don't have the USB section on it, that's not a problem either. But if you were to leave one of those the things that go in that 12 socket, which gives you the 2 USB or the USB thing, you'd have to pull that out. Don't leave it sitting in there because it would do the same thing. Alright, enough of 12 volt bloody sockets. What's next? The windscreen. Cool. Okay, so what have I done to the windscreen? Because apparently I just can't help tinkering all the time. I suppose this will be the best angle. So there's the windscreen. How it used to be before was this here was all flat against that fairing part on the DR. What I've done is I've added 2 PVC pipes down here. I'll just show you. So just bloody normal PVC pipe. I don't know what diameter it is, might be 25 mil or something like that. And just the 2 existing bolts, bolts that were there, I've removed them because they're only short. And what I've done is just cut that pipe. I've painted it black, done a bad job of it, but and you can see there I've just put a fairly thick bolt coming through and just wing nutted it there. The middle one that was there, that's still the original. So what I've effectively done is I've moved the windscreen out like that, so now it's coming more up like that. So what it's done, I suppose, hang on. So the reason for doing this is there's kind of like 2 things. By having this coming more forward, and I can show you how much it's come forward. See that cable there? That screen, this used to rest on that screen. So you can see it's moved it forward quite a bit. So now I'm getting less wind on me. And to give you an idea, before that screen was raised, I was getting wind about there. So it was coming there. It wasn't coming there. Now the wind has come about up to about here. So it doesn't make a huge amount of difference, but you know, every little bit helps. The other thing is that it's moved this part here away from my head. So when you're doing some bloody crazy stuff or you go forward and whatever, so it's like the Dakar type stuff. I didn't want to bring mine way forward like, you know, the Dakar stuff. I'd like the look. I like the bike being the way it is. So that's all I've done. Just a bit of stuff to play with, that's it. Okay, so I think that's about it. No, it's not. That's not it. I've removed, I said when I was taking the forks off that these were going to be removed. That was for the reflector. So they've been removed. That's another 180 grams off the bloody bike. I'm sure I've added more bits and pieces, so it really doesn't matter. But for now, the reflectors are just screwed onto the mud guard. So basically they were there on the brackets, they came out here and were just sitting there. Got rid of those brackets on both sides, put it in there, and if you look underneath there you can see that there, just drilled a hole and popped them on. So I'm still being safe by having the reflectors on there. Alright guys, that's it. That's the quick update. Alright, keep on riding.